So what's going on, guys? My name is Viollent. Welcome to GRIZZ Zombies. You guys know of zombie blood. It's something we're going to be talking about in this video from Black Ops 2. We know that Origins is going to be remastered. So part of the conversation is about power-ups. And this gameplay you're seeing is with me and GRIZZ Viollent. I'll have his Twitter linked in the description box below. But we were playing on some Origins, we were doing some zombie blood action, and I got to thinking about zombie Richthofen a little bit. Now, in this gameplay, Onage was playing as Richthofen, so in theater mode, I got some of the best quality footage of it actually occurring. So we'll talk about that in a second. As you know, there's a live stream happening by Treyarch, hashtag Zombie Chronicles. Jason Blundell is going to be there talking more about DLC 5, which we're calling Zombie Chronicles. That's the actual title. We've been calling it DLC 5 this whole time. Technically, it still is a DLC 5, so we're all right. You know what I'm saying? It's actually happening. All the haters out there, it don't matter. It's gone. It's in the back. We all can accept now that we have a DLC 5 occurring for the first time in Call of Duty history, and we're going to have a live stream and a presentation by Blundell himself. You see, and that's what this video kind of stems from. It's storyline information, and I like to base a lot of my videos off the storyline when I'm presenting a theory to you. We're talking about zombie Richthofen. You've seen him on the cover of the very first comic in the entire series. We've seen him periodically show up throughout the comic, but when we got the actual storyline information from Jason Blundell in the reveal for actual Zombie Chronicles, we were able to read some interesting things, and I got some questions that I want to present to you. So the gameplay you're going to be seeing here is Origins again, a lot of different zombie blood action, okay, because Origins is going to be remastered, and my question to you is Zombie Blood going to be remastered as well, since it only featured on Origins? So let's get into the storyline information, and then we'll talk about it right after. So it started with the manipulation of Stullinger. Having overseen the construction of a laboratory beneath Alcatraz, Richthofen returns to the house where he begins to communicate with Stullinger. Together they persuade Victus to travel to a variety of locations in order to recover the Chronorium. We know that the entire comic is about the transit crew recovering the Chronorium. That's how we know Victus is the transit crew. The Chronorium retrieved. That's the title of this next section. Upon arriving at Zero Base, Victus, the transit crew, provides blood samples that allow them to access empty Earth and recover the Chronorium. This next section is called the Blood Acquired. Richthofen collects the Victus blood samples from undead Richthofen. So to reiterate where this information actually comes from, Jason Blundell showed an entire map, a timeline of Black Ops 3 Zombies and how it originated from the very beginning to the very end. It gave every little bit of storyline detail, and this was some of the storyline that was held within that. So of all the information I could find so far, this is the only moment they mention an undead Richthofen. And that would mean that this Richthofen is conscious. And if he's conscious, he can actually communicate, and we've seen that in the comic because he can control these zombies. And if Richthofen was smart enough, the Primus Richthofen, he would be able to contact the person that Treyarch would deem as undead, which is the Richthofen, the zombie Richthofen. And I find that quite interesting. So the gameplay, like you're seeing, is Zombie Blood, and I think that this could be reformatted to fit more of the look of the zombie Richthofen that we're seeing in the comic. So that's what I would like to see with Zombie Chronicles. You guys let me know if you kind of like that idea. But as we know, gobblegums as well are going to be an integral function within all of these maps. So how's that going to play out with In Plain Sight? As you know, that's a gobblegum that is Zombie Blood. And that also leaves the unopened question of, is it even going to be there? Are we going to have Zombie Blood because there's gobblegums? Are the power-ups going to change and disappear and not be the same? It's remastered, so it's only going to fit even better, and they've spent enough time to realize what's good and what's bad on this map. And you know Origins is their baby, so they're taking extra special care of it. Jason said he loves all his children, but you know he's got a special place in his heart for Origins. I think another important topic that a lot of people aren't talking about right now is the capability size, the capacity size of what the Xbox 360, PS3 had compared to the Xbox One and PS4. It's very important because the maps are all designed to fit on the 360 consoles or the PS3 consoles, and there's restrictions, you know what I mean? There's brackets, like Jason likes to say. but they gotta stay within those restraints. They can't expand beyond that. The capacity of Xbox 360 game disc for actual data is 6.8 gigabytes. The rest of the space is taken up with video files related to system updates. Currently, the Blu-ray discs, like the ones used for PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One games, can store up to 50 gigabytes of data. So a little bit different. There's a lot more space. It's Blu-ray, you know, but Sony officially announced an archival disc described as next generation iteration of its Blu-ray format that can house up to 1 terabyte of data. And that's something unheard of. It's just a leap in it's a whole new leap in technology. And so that's what I believe the next console for PS4 will have on each one of their game discs. I don't believe they're currently at the 1 terabyte right now, because the data that I have says 50 gigabytes are the current Blu-ray data storage, and that's what everyone's formatting to now. So all the Origins remaster, all these remasters are going to be up to 50 gigabytes now, instead of the old gen game disc capability of 6.8 gigabytes. Just moving to Blu-ray in itself is the best way to go with it, and I think that's the way it's going to be in the future, and it's only going to get better. You've seen all the Apple products continue to get smaller. Now the headphones are actually wireless. Things like that. We're advancing as a species, so does technology, and it gets smaller and better each and every time. So the fact that DLC 5 will be remastered completely on a 50 gigabyte space is insane. There's a lot more room and a lot more area where they can actually create everything that they wanted to create. You know, they talked about creating things that you couldn't see, but you felt it, like you thought it was there. And that feeling doesn't have to be just a feeling anymore. It can actually be real. They can actually complete the map. So I am just a little confused on the information we talked about, if the blood acquired is actually from the zombie Richthofen. He gave it to the Primus Richthofen that we know about that has the Chronorium, and gave the blood samples of the transit crew that we now know as Victus. Richthofen did receive the Chronorium, but this was after the blood samples were already given to him by this undead Richthofen. So Richthofen is having communications with other Richthofens in other dimensions. They all seem to understand or can comprehend what's happening, and so they're all on the same page and working together to make the master plan happen. And that's what I believe we're going to be seeing throughout the entirety of these Easter eggs. And it's very important because we all got to understand that the blood vials play an important role. And that's kind of where all this stems from. I think zombie blood as well could be another tie-in to the blood vials coming up, and it's just another outlet that I think we need to explore. So if you think I'm not making sense, let's take this into another perspective. Dr. Monty is in charge of delivering power-ups. The power-ups that we get inside each map are delivered by Dr. Monty. That's his helping us factor. Okay, so the box is also placed there by Dr. Monty to help us. So essentially what a zombie blood is it's a packet of blood, but it's sent from Dr. Monty, who's in another dimension. You know, he's like the architect, but he's sending this through to our world, and so it's not the same as cursed blood. And that's why I find a little bit of confusion in my head. Mob of the Dead has to play a role somehow in all of this, but then again, it may not. We're finding out that the blood that Richthofen's acquiring is from the Victus crew, the transit crew, and that might have been the blood all along, the Cursed Realm blood. And does it seem like Mob of the Dead is a map that's going to be remastered, and a lot of the information that we're getting just seems to be in an endless cycle of confusion in my head. So I really want some explanation on these blood vials a little bit more. Zombie blood does seem to be somewhat of a disguise factor. It's not quite zombie Richthofen, as you can see, but this is Richthofen on Origins, and it's the second time that we've seen him in-game as a zombie. The first time I showcased it, it was an iOS version of Nocturne Toten, the training version, if you will, on the World at War app. And that was a totally different look than what we're seeing here on Origins. This is what zombie blood does to your character, and this is what Dr. Monty sent down from wherever he is through his power-up system to give us blood from his dimension. This is what that does to us. Now we know that Richthofen carries his blood vials on his chest, and that's where it saves his life when he drinks it. And so it's a little bit confusing at this point if zombie blood's going to be changed at all in Origins or remastered in a certain way, that it'll make more sense. I'd like to see this zombie become more of the zombie that we know of from the comic, and I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. That's kind of my idea and where I'm at right now. So I'll see you guys in another video very soon. Viollent out.